Friends, I welcome you all on behalf of Vigyan Bharti in the fifth talk in the series of AthmaNirbhar Bharat Talk Series lecture. So today we have got speaker Dr. Anirudha Joshi. So he is basically BTech in IT from Mumbai University, and then he directly joined PhD at IIT Bombay in computer science department, which is a difficult thing because direct admission to PhD always needs academic excellence. And then the more difficult part is that the topic which is selected for his PhD, which is based on Nadi Pariksha. Now, this is perhaps the first time in institutes of higher learning like IITs that they have taken such a topic which is related to our ancient India and with a modern techniques applied to it. So Anirudha did his PhD in 2010, and I would give equal credit to his guide also because it is difficult to accept the such selecting a different path, which he did. And after that, finishing his PhD in this, he devised what is called as Nadi Tarangani, which is a tool to analyze the Nadi and using the signal processing techniques, and which we will learn in more detail in his lecture. And then after his PhD, for a brief 3 years, I guess, he was at NCL Pune, where he did his postdoc and was appointed as CSIR fellow. And then 2015, he started his company with the encouragement of chairman of Persistent. And now he has got his company called Atreya Innovations, which makes this product, markets this product. And this product gives a very important inputs regarding various doshas in the body. And how he captures that will be a very interesting thing to know. So we are here for a very interesting talk to next 45 minutes or so. In the meanwhile, whenever you have any doubts or any questions for Anirudha, you can just type in your chat box below so that he can answer the questions after the talk. So Anirudha, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the warm welcome. Should I share the screen, sir?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, now
is it
visible?
Okay, great. Thank you again. Thank you, Sahasrabudhe sir, for recommending my name. I'm really honored to present my work at Vigyan Bharti platform. So the title of my today's presentation is Data Science Driven Ayurveda. You can see the photo on the left. It's actually in KLE Ayurveda College. I have clicked this. So there's a Rishi Muni who is working on the computer. He's looking at the protein patterns and thinking about it. So that's exactly what we wish to do, that combine the two great sciences so that it benefits the mankind. We are celebrating two great scientists. So let me start the presentation with Dr. Kalam sir's few notes from the book India 2020. So that I need not give any introduction. These 5 points itself will set the context of my presentation. What he has written in the healthcare section is that we need to find out the ability to prevent the onset of diseases by means of suitable systems and measures. He has talked about cultural heritage. He has given attention to the nutrition and dietary supplements to control many diseases. He has given importance to develop inexpensive diagnostics for the countries like India, and also has added the point that we should have telecommunication, especially at rural sectors, where we can add the modern communication, IT, and so on. Well, now Dr. Kakodkar has come up with Vision 2030. He has added a few points. What he says is that every person needs to be fit, healthy, not just physically but also intellectually. Lifestyle diseases are increasing. We need to look into it. A vast treasure of traditional knowledge base is present in India. We need to combine that with the curative regimens and come up with the integrative approach. And at the end, he again makes the point that telemedicine has a huge scope and we should come up with a great product, especially for rural areas. So, with that context, let me start my presentation. Uh, it's believed that there are so many non-communicable disorders such as diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, thyroid, and while we are balancing the work and life structure, these are the root causes, specifically poor digestion, pollution, anger, stress, hormonal imbalance, and so on. So while we are stressing more on the curative approach of controlling the diabetes, our ancient science says that find out the root cause which has resulted into diabetes, solve that cause, and your diabetes will be in the control. Similarly, cancer will be in the control, and so on. So how do we really do that? So confluence is the key. We need to keep in mind that modern medicine is at the advanced stages and we should have it, but we should combine that with the holistic approach of the personalized medicine approach, which I will explain later. And of course, combine everything with today's great technologies of visualization, of data science, machine learning, and so on. So how do we do that? Before going for that approach, let me put up the point that in National Ayurveda Summit of 2014, which happened in Gujarat, our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji had specifically said that we have a great talent, we have a great science, but we need to put this in front of the world, which understands the language of reports, language of numbers, comparison, and so on. So I'll start with the first important slogan of AthmaNirbhar Bharat, which is vocal for local. Our local solution, which is actually a global solution, which is Ayurveda, and we need to make sure that we talk about it in today's language, which is the language of reports, language of statistics, language of numbers, and so on. So the vision of Athreya is to create world's most personal, portable, predictive, and non-invasive health monitor based on data science-driven Ayurveda. So let me explain how we have combined the two sciences so far and what will be our journey in next 3 to 5 years. So first 15 minutes of my talk, I'm going to explain a few concepts of Ayurveda for the audience who does not understand, who does not know much about Ayurveda. So the main concept of Ayurveda is personalized balance versus imbalance. So every person has some equilibrium health state, which is called his own healthy baseline. And due to various factors, that so what you are today is slightly a different version of your balance state. So if we find out what is the current situation, what is the deviation, then it's very easy to go back to your balance state. So on left side, you can see that your digestive fire is at one place, your earth component is at one place, and so on. And on the other side, you can see that fire has misplaced, your earth element is misplaced, and so on. So you need to take it back to your balance state. So that's the main need/solution that we are trying to solve. So first, we need to find out who am I. So once I know who am I, in general, it solves many problems psychologically, emotionally, physically, physiologically, and so on. The next thing we need to find out is who am I today or in these days in general, how am I behaving with respect to physiology, with respect to psychology, and so on. If there is a difference between who am I and who am I today, how much is that deviation? How much is the difference? That I need to find out. And then if there is any deviation, then what is the solution to get back to my healthy baseline or my balanced best? So in Ayurveda, Prakriti denotes the body type, or in general the who am I question, which basically dictates the the body type. I mean, in general, how you behave in general. And Vikruti indicates your current state. It could be your general current state or today's current state or at this moment's current state. So it's very important to know the difference between Prakriti and Vikruti. So you can see that there are so many physical appearances of people. So physically you could be different from each other. You could appear square, you could appear triangular shape, which is the muscular shape. You could appear sthula prakriti, which is more like a round kind of shape. In females also you see there are different shapes which are visible. Sometimes you are one kind, you want to be other kind, and so on. This is from physical point of view. From personality point of view also, you could be a genius person, you could be lazy person, you could be loyal person, you could be disabled, you could be in general positive, you could be passionate. So in general, a person could be risk taker, but today he is a thinker. In general, a person could be lazy, but today she is positive, and so on. So we need to find out who that really person is. In terms of behaviors also, people behaved very differently. I'm going to give a few examples before we go ahead. So let's assume that there are three categories of people, and we are going for a movie. So you can imagine your friends, you can imagine your family, who behaves like whom, right? So there is first category of people who at a movie they are guessing who will come next, who will get the best lines, who will get the best presence, and so on. The second category of people are the kind of leaders. They are making the plans, which theater to go, which movie to watch, how to go there, where to park, and so on. And then there is a third category of people who are slightly lazy. I mean, they let the leaders decide and they just come. They enjoy the movie, they enjoy the popcorns. Sometimes they fell asleep. Even after the movie, the first category people are still talking about the screenplay, talking about the awards, and so on. The second category of people are still analyzing the plot. इस मूवी में ये अच्छा नहीं था, वैसा होना चाहिए था, and so on. And again, making the plans. So where to go next? Do we have to have a dinner plan? Next movie कौन सा देखेंगे? And so on. And third category of people are still, they are relaxed. So they're still yawning, they're still stretching, and so on. Again, if you see any snake or accident, again, the first category of people will run away. They will scream. The second category of people will try to solve the issue. If there is an accident, they will actually go there, will help, call the police, call the ambulance, and so on. The third category of people will, they might ignore. They'll just say, oh, there is an accident, and they will just keep walking the road. Suppose there is some party going on. It's a birthday party, their own birthday party. So the first category of person will, will just think of a random idea. Let's go to a Tibet and have some fun. The second category of people will do organized games, organized birthday party, caterer, and will have good fun. The third category will not decide much, but will have a good time with friends, family, and so on. So, there are various kinds of people. Typically, in Ayurveda, these three categories are called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And there are various combinations. People can be Vata, Pitta, people can be Kapha, Pitta, people can be Pitta, Vata, and so on. Usually, you are not one person, but you are a combination. So, in general, you could show leader properties, but in certain situations you could feel like lazy. In certain situations you could be analytical, you could be greedy. In certain situations you could be different. But in general, if you know that this particular person is kapha dominant, then you will know that such kind of disorders will happen to that person, such kind of medicines will work, such kind of predictive actions can be taken, and so on. So knowing the person is very important in Ayurveda. And this imbalance, this deviation, knowing the person in general and also today, that difference could be genetic, it could be physical, it could be mental, it could be physiological, and so on. And as I told you, usually people are combinations. Could be Vata Kapha, it could be Kapha Pitta, and so on. And there's so many factors which affects the person. I mean, as age progresses, a person goes from Vata to Pitta to Kapha, Kapha to Pitta, Pitta to Vata. Immunity changes. The prahar of the day, I mean, the morning person is different, the evening person is different. The habits, various habits along the age changes the person. Seasons changes. So a few people have certain allergies during certain season. The family, friends, upbringing, everything affects the person and changes the person. Your professional life, when you are in stress, you are a different person. When you are out of stress, you are a different person. When you have a day job, you are a different person. When you have a night job, you have a different person, and so on. So many factors we are affecting the person. So if you know what is really going on, you can take the preventive actions so that your immunity goes better, your digestion goes better, your in general presence goes better, and so on. So India has so much diversity, so much diversity. I mean, weather is different everywhere. Land type is different. You could be on the coastal, you could be in Mumbai, huge city, Mumbai, smaller city, again coastal, maybe something like Alibag. Could be completely dry area, it could be hilly area, and so on. So a person whose upbringing is in certain type of land has a different properties as compared to someone who is from coastal area. Again, population density has various effects. Food types have huge effect because food is what makes you. So someone who is from Andhra and someone who is from, let's say, Pune, uh, same person, but who is having different types of food at home will behave differently, and so on. So as I told you, so there are so many types of people, and we need to find out who that person is so that we can take the next steps in the in different kind of, whether it's curative or preventive, and so on. So in allopathy, there are already various ways to do it, whether it's a blood test or genetics algorithm, and so on. What we have done is we have come up with the data science and Ayurveda combined approach to find out the category of the person so that we can give that person personalized recommendations, personalized solutions, personalized diagnosis, treatment process, and so on. So with this context, let me start with the what exactly is the solution that we have solved so far. So there is something called Ayurveda Pariksha in Ayurveda. So it's eightfold Ayurvedic method of diagnosis. So you can see that there are 8 different non-invasive methods in which in ancient days, so Ayurveda is basically 5,000-year-old science. So in ancient days, they did this non-invasively using various touch, feel, visual impressions. So the most important is pulse, second is tongue, eyes, urine, shape, skin, voice, and so on. So so total 8 methods in which a person can be completely, so now we have x-rays, we have MRIs, and so on to understand the person. In those days, these were the stethoscopes, these were the methods through which a person can be known. So as sir said, in 2017 we launched Nadi Tarangani based on pulse, and by the end of this discussion today, I will explain. We have combined now 5 of these methods to come up with our next solution. So I will start with Nadi Tarangani, where it has reached, how it has catered the current um, version, and we'll go to the next. So let me explain Nadi first. What is Nadi? It's pulse-based diagnosis. So as you can see on the screen, the patient's wrist is felt by the Vaidyas or Ayurvedic doctors 3 fingertips at 3 locations, which are Vata, Pitta and Kapha. You can see that there are 3 locations, and each of the locations gives different information about the person. The first fingertip typically indicates Vata information, which gives information about the movements. So it could be blood movement, it could be hand movement, it could be respiration, or the movement of thoughts and so on. So different types of movements are understood at this fingertip based on the palpitations experienced by the fingertips, and the pressure is exerted by the arterial pulse. The second fingertip typically talks about the energy. So this energy is typically food to energy conversion, creation of thoughts, and many more things. And third one is the kapha, again slightly different, which gives the information about the structures. So your bone structures, your lubrication, your skin, and different types of structures are understood at the third location. So you can observe the artery is the same blood is flowing through, but the information which is felt at the 3 fingertips, it's completely different, because below the artery, under one fingertip there is a bone, under second fingertip there is a space, and under third fingertip there is muscles. So because from below the information is different, so whenever you apply a slight pressure from the top, the thermodynamics, the fluid dynamics, everything changes in the blood flow, and that's why you get 3 different informations at these 3 locations. And what it does, it basically gives the information about the entire body. If there is something wrong in the body, then what could be the root cause behind that illness, and again finally, most importantly, what can be done to rectify this problem. So my father was not well in 2003, and through this Nadi Pariksha, Vaidyaraj Ashok Bhatt was able to find out the root cause, and he was able to rectify the problem. So that was the actual starting point when we as engineers thought that, this is a great science and we need to find out the real science behind it, form a technology and get to the people, so that the way my dad was treated well, it should reach out to the masses. And then I did my PhD, and in 2016-17 we came up with the product called Nadi Targeting. So on left hand side you can see the manual method, which uses 3 fingertips. Instead of that, Nadi Tarangani has 3 pressure sensors, and those pressure sensors are kept at the 3 locations of Vata, Pitta, Kapha. The pressure sensors collect the pressure energy of the wrist, converts that into electrical energy, sends to the computer, and you can see the pulse waveforms on the screen. And once those waveforms are uploaded on the Atreya server, the data science machine learning happens there, and it produces a 10-page report card on the server, which can be sent back to the doctor, to the patient, to the person. So it's a completely automated system in which you get the scientific pulse on your screen. So let me explain how it actually works. So let's assume that you're feeling the pulse on your wrist, and in 10 seconds, let's assume that your pulse rate is exactly 60. So in 10 seconds, you will feel your pulse 10 times. Tap, 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 tap. The way you can feel your heart on the chest. Same way, you can feel the pulse also on the wrist. Suppose the pressure exerted by the arterial pulse is low, then obviously the amplitude sensed by the pressure sensor will also be low. In case of higher pressure, your amplitude will be higher, and so on. If you feel the pulse with high concentration, you will actually feel 2 beats and not one every second. So it's actually tuck 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 and so on, similar to your heartbeats again. On chest also you feel dual heartbeats on the chest. But when a good Nadi Vaidya feels the pulse, there are not just one or two beats per second, but there are many ups and downs. It's a very complex structure and it changes across every pulse beat. So there is the actual information which is stored in this pulse. Every beat is different. Every beat has smaller, higher ups and downs, and those ups and downs are the actual information which is converted into the root cause or the solution or the what to do and so on. There are so many rules in the books of ancient science. If it's a happy person, the typical pulse is steady. In terms of anger, it becomes fast. In terms of excitement, it becomes fast. When you run, it becomes fast. If the toxin inside the body increases, the nadi actually becomes heavy, and so on. So there are so many rules which are written in the books, and we need to find out what the pulse is, find out the what type of pulse is there, and so the condition. So typically in computer science, what you do is if you see this pulse on the screen in terms of time series, then there are two types of components in that time series. The first type of component is the actual information, and the second type of component is the random component or the noise. So first you need to find out what is the real information, whether that information is seasonal or cyclic, or it has statistical importance, or there's generic trend in that component. And if there is noise, then what kind of noise it is. So we need to find out that noise, remove it, get the main information, again split into various formats, and then give meaning to them. So it's a systematic study needs to be done to find out how many beats are there, why there are so many beats, how many are small, how many are bigger, why it is different from beat to beat, and so on. So in ancient language, they have explained this in terms of different movements of animals and birds. So those movements could be a movement of sarpa, that is snake, or how it jumps like a frog, or hasti or hausa, and so many. There are so many movements which are defined in ancient books. We have converted that language into today's language through the time domain properties, the wavelets, the Fourier, the 3D pulse, and so on. So once you get the signal on screen on server, we do various types of analysis. And in terms of frequency information, in terms of statistical information, we have tried to connect those informations with various gatis. So in my PhD, in my postdoc, in my initial days of the company, what we did was we installed our system at various locations. So at one time it was located at, it was installed at 20 different Ayurvedic clinics and hospitals, right from Gujarat to Bangalore. And we collected more than 20,000, 25,000 data along with doctors' information. So what we used to get was Nadi data from the patients' informations, and also what doctors feel about those patients. So once we get those informations, we try to correlate the extracted time series, the extracted patterns, the extracted time frequency information of those people, along with what does they have according to the ground, according to the doctors. So for us, the ground truth was given by the doctors, and data was given by various users and patients. And we did our complete analysis on that. And based on that, we launched our first product, Nadi Targeting. And as we are moving ahead, we have more than 1 lakh patients' data in our bank. our relationships, our correlations are continuously improving, and we are at a stage where I will explain the next set of products. So this is how the complete process works. We have a hardware, we have a device which has 3 pressure sensors. It records the nadi on the wrist. The data is uploaded on the server where various algorithms run, and you get the reports on the screen. I will show a video how it actually works. I hope my screen is still visible to all. So
Yes.
the patient is keeping the hand on the wrist. The doctor wears the sensors. The doctor places the sensors on the wrist, and you can see that pulse signals appear. So you get 3 signals for 3 pressure sensors at 3 locations. You can visualize the graph. It gives how they are different from healthy graphs. The doctor can actually explain those graphs to the patient. Similar to blood report, it has various languages, various levels, whether you are less today, whether you are more today, and what does it mean. So it's a completely 10-page, it's a completely automated language which today's patients understand. So let me go further and show what different things you get and why it is important to know them, and why it makes sense today. So you get questionnaire based Prakriti. So as I told you earlier, Prakriti is the body type, and so there are different apps, different questionnaire based. CCRS has come up with very standardized procedure to find out the body type of a person. Once you know the person, if for example in this case this particular dummy user is Pitta Pradhan Kafatmak person. So that person will typically exhibit fair, acne, rapid digestion, leader properties as compared to other properties, and so on. That person's current nadi appears like this. So you can see that vata has increased, pitta and kapha look okay. So what does it mean, and so on. From those signals, we calculate all different types of informations. For example, here you can see that there's a parameter called Agni, which typically gives digestive fire. So digestive fire typically provides you how good your food conversion will be. So I'm going to present you a few results based on just that parameter of digestive fire, what it makes sense. And then I will also explain you various other reports and the parameters and numbers also. So you can see here, this is a graph which have produced, which we published in 2018. Data from more than 25,000 people, to be exact 25,437 patients, users, and this data has been collected on our server by various doctors. So by then we had sold about 250 systems across India, and those doctors have collected data of their patients from the camps, from the colleges, from hospitals, and so on. So it's a completely random data. And you can see that there are 3 different colored graphs which typically indicates 3 different types of Vikruti. So blue is Vata Pradhan Vikruti, red is Pitta Pradhan Vikruti, and green is a Kapha Pradhan Vikruti. And black basically is the average of all of them. So in January, whoever had Vata Pradhan, we found out their digestive number, and the average of all those numbers has been plotted in front of Jan number, similarly in front of Feb number, similar in front of March, April, and so on. So you can see that typically all Pitta people have better digestion as compared to Kapha, as compared to Vata. So typically Vata people will have more digestion related issues as compared to Pitta. Pitta will have different types of issues, and so on. You can see in general for all people, the digestive fire is lesser in the rainy days. Okay, you can observe that. So typically it could be possibility that that's why we came up with different types of chaturmas, fastings, and so on, especially in rainy season. So on left, you can see that we have considered, so I will go along the various results. So in this particular page, I have considered different months and different Vikrutis. Same people, same data, but now we also consider their Prakrutis, which are questionnaire based Prakruti, different months, and Nadi based Vikruti. So now you can see that the numbers are different. For example, on previous screen, typically Vata was less, but when this particular person is Vata Pitta, I mean Vata Prakriti, but today he is a Pitta, then the numbers are slightly higher, and so on. So different types of people, different types of Agni. There is Mandagni, Tikshnagni, Samagni, and so on. So we can observe those variations in this various 3 by 3 matrix. Now I will pick up one of the sections, which is Pitta Vata, Pitta Prakriti, Vata Vikruti, and now we have considered Prahars. I mean, from the same data set, the 4 Prahars basically indicate 4 timings of the day. Prahar 1 is morning 6 to 10, Prahar 2 is 10 to 2 in the afternoon, Prahar 3 is 2 to 6, and Prahar 4 is 6 to 10 in the evening. We don't have data of night 10 o'clock to morning 6, so remaining 2 Prahars images I have not shown. So you can see that now the month-wise digestive fire is completely different. Especially you can see in the month of July, lunchtime the fire is good, dinner time the fire is really bad. So you can have good food, good calorie food in the lunch, but at night you should avoid that. You should have low calorie and simple diet, and so on. Same people, same data. This is very interesting. Now I have plotted this with respect to Prakriti and Hindu calendar Tithis. So you can see that first half of this is Shukla Paksha, second half is Krishna Paksha. So you can observe that the digestive fire of all people is typically higher in Shukla Paksha as compared to Krishna Paksha. And there are references that typically when moon increases, your digestion is better. But from Paurnima to Amavasya, your digestion is slightly lesser. And it is now evident in this particular figure. Especially if you see the lines again, the lines go up, come down on Ekadashi, again go up, come down on second Ekadashi, go really down on the Amavasya day. So maybe it could be reason why our ancient, in our ancient books, people have come up with different fastings on 4th day, on 11th day, on various days. And this is visually we can see that why I should fast, whether it's Dikshit diet, whether it's intermittent diet, whether it's different types of diets, what diet to choose, what fasting type to choose, when to choose. If you're recording data, then this will actually help you to find out how do I do it, and so on. Similarly, in Ayurveda, from Nadi, you get different types of gunas. These are very important gunas. There are 10 pairs, out of which we have been able to find out the numbers for 5 of them. And again, if we, from the same data, if we try to put up the statistics, the numbers or the graphs, you can see that there either it's cyclic or it's completely in the fashion that something is better in the rainy season, something is bad in the rainy season, something is good in the winter season, something is bad in winter season, and so on. So you need to take extra precaution with respect to season and so on. Similar graphs are also available with respect to months plus Prakriti plus Vikruti plus Tithi, but I'm not showing because it's not published yet, so we are waiting for them. Another very interesting result I would like to show, however, people had really thought about why food can, work as medicine. So this work we presented in World Ayurveda Congress in 2016. Different types of food on different type of people and before and after effects, before having that particular food item. Before that, the nadi could be shrink, the nadi will be expanded after that, or and so on. I mean, it shows different behaviors. And so, if you are certain type of person, then if you have if we prescribe uh, good calorie data based on your fire, based on who you are, and based on what food items are available in that particular area, it will work as a really good medicine in this particular case. I'll skip a few slides here uh, due to less time. But typically, we have done some experiments with respect to hypertension, with respect to diabetes, and uh, again, another good example why we should do Surya Namaskar. I mean, what we did was we selected a few students who had never done Surya Namaskar in their lives, and we asked them to do Surya Namaskar for 15 days, again gap of 15 days, and another 15 days of Surya Namaskar. And we saw how the Nadi Bala of those students who are healthy in general, they had no symptoms, their Nadi Bala increased over the time. It decreased in between when they were not doing it. So it typically indicates how their immunity level increased when they were having typically in those days. So how Surya Namaskar can be important, how different yoga patterns could be important, how meditation works. We have done many experiments and shown through results, through numbers, that it changes you internally completely. So with that, let me go to the next point beyond Nadi. So I'll explain how we have worked on the second section of the Eightfold Ayurvedic Method, which is the tongue-based analysis. So your tongue has different colors, textures, spots, edges, and so on, and they have different meanings. I mean, even your GP, your modern doctor, checks your pulse, checks your eyes when you visit that particular doctor. And we have collected more than 5,000 tongue samples. Based on that, we are able to give, again, digestive power, different indications about the spleen, acidity, just by the image analysis of the tongue. And we had a very, we never launched this as a product, but we had this in beta version. We called it as a Lola app. Lola means tongue in Sanskrit. And people used to upload their tongue photos in the morning. And based on that, we used to give them the various scores. And based on those scores, they used to take some corrective actions. The third thing, shape, akruti, is where we are working right now. We have collected so many samples of different people, and how your hand, wherever you have breakpoints, whether your fingers are smaller, whether their length is smaller, whether there is width is smaller, whether there is volume is smaller, it has direct implications about you. Again, from on the right hand side, you can see a person who is standing completely, with hands open, and different body types have different, ratios. So typically in ancient books, they have mentioned about Swanguli Praman. I mean, every person has different nose shapes, different cheek shapes, and so on. And those shapes have, different meanings about those people. So, for example, whenever you look at any person, you can have some guess about that person. This person could be, angry. This person could be in general smiling. This person in general could be smart, and so on. So similarly, I mean, your brain has is trained in that way. So now we are teaching the computer to find out what are those various ratios, and what those ratios actually mean in terms of body type. So we have come up with this approach to solve the problem of questionnaire-based Prakriti. So typically, many times questionnaire-based Prakriti approach fails because the user is not able to answer many questions, or when you go to rural sectors, those people don't know how to answer those questions. So instead of that, we ask them simple questions, and then we do these image analysis based approaches so that you can come up with better answer set and you can find out the body type. Again, in terms of face, I'm sure the youngsters will remember about a year ago, there was 10 years challenge on Instagram and Facebook. What we actually did, we downloaded such 500 photos from the internet, and we tried to find out which ratios of face did not change over the 10 years. So it actually depicts which body type, for which body types, which ratios do not change. And if we can use this along with questionnaire and along with, Anguli Praman on previous screen, it actually gives better results. So if we combine these 4-5 things together, Prakruti followed by Nadi, followed by tongue, followed by Akruti, followed by face, followed by who you are today, we can actually track you and give you very good recommendations in terms of diet, in terms of yoga, in terms of music, for every season, for every rutu, for every day. When the season is changing, if you have a certain difficulty, and so on. So this app, this hardware can work very well even at homes. I mean, Nadi Tarangani we launched for doctors. It's a doctor setup, but now we are coming up with a wellness companion which can be at home also. So the way ECG system typically is at clinics, and you visit there when you have a real issue, and then cardiologists use the ECG machine to find out the problem behind it. But at home, you use iWatch, you use portable ECG machine to just monitor every day, so that this is how it is going on, and you may take smaller corrective actions based on the answers which that particular machine gives. So similarly, we are coming with the Ayurvedic ecosystem. So Nadi Tarangani will work at various clinics level, where it gives the complete report card of the person. And at home, you get a smaller report, you get smaller numbers, smaller reports, and corrective actions, so that it helps in day-to-day corrective action, day-to-day recommendations, day-to-day preventive things which you can take at home for the entire family. So we are calling it as name Turiya. We are launching very soon. The website is coming up, which is turiya.tech. It's a completely AI-powered home-based solution. Looks very cute, awesome at home, and it gives basically only 3 numbers: your well-being number, your digestion number, and your stress number. So what we believe is that if your stomach and if your mind both are stable, both are happy, then you will be happy. So that's what we want to make sure, that your digestion is in control and your mind is happy. So in next section, let me tell you that how this could go towards the integrative ecosystem. I mean, the allopathy structure is already established in India. There are different types of doctors, Ayurveda doctors, homeopathy doctors, and so on. The Ministry of Ayush is coming up with a software grid to collect the information on their server. Once you have the information, it helps in different types of statistics, what is going wrong in certain areas, and then you can take corrective actions based on those areas and so on. But along with that, there are so many hardware, softwares in Ayurveda also. I mean, in allopathy, there are already so many at clinics level, at hospital level, at home, and so on. In Ayurveda also, we have Nadi Tarangani, we have Kesh Ayurveda, we have GastroLab at different hospitals. IuSoft, developed by CDAC of Nirok Street by another dear friend of mine, Ram, again installed at various doctors' levels and so on. But still, it's missing from so many doctors. I mean, so many doctors are still do not have anything. They're not connected. And we need to make sure that every doctor has certain power to examine the patients correctly. So number-wise, there are more than 5 lakh Ayurvedic doctors in India, but very few have been connected through IuSoft or Kesha Ayurveda or Nirok Street or Nadi Tarangani or different such softwares across. Well, what we wish to do is to come up with complete ecosystem. I mean, these systems should also go home along with your BP check, along with your glucose check, your Nadi check should also go at homes so that everything is monitored along with your temperature, along with your blood pressure. You also need to find out who you really are from the digestion point of view, from stress point of view. Many people already have iWatch, already have Fitbit, which is talking about their sleep patterns and so on. But the missing information can come from the Ayurveda. So it really becomes a integrative approach. And then further, at various railway stations or primary healthcare centers, we can install various types of kiosk machines. So typically current kiosk machines have allopathic information. They have BP check, they have ECG, they have heart rate variability modules and so on. But along with that, there will be another module in the same kiosk, which has a tablet in front of you, which can record your face, which can ask the Ayurvedic questionnaire, which can take your pulse, which can take your tongue photo, face photo, and really tell beyond what allopathic devices are taking. So it will be a complete good integrative approach, and which will help us going further for the self-reliant India. Well, to finish my today's talk, let me again stress why is it very important to know who you are today or who you are, in these days. So on top, you can see that usually you start as a healthy person, and some symptoms becomes so aggressive that finally it results in the disease format, and it goes through various stages. Uh, so first there is some emotional factor or some dietary error happens or some injury happens, but it doesn't make more like a disease. But it goes inside your body. It's still internal factor and so on. But as you go along, some shocking event happens. It triggers that particular error, whether it's an injury or lack of exercise and so on. And then the damage happens either at the functional level or the organ level and so on. And it finally results into the disease. So in such scenario, as you go from healthy to active, your health deteriorates, and the cost involved to find out what has happened or the curative actions to take, the cost increases, especially at the ending section when it is really active. And in current scenario, typically detection happens at that section. So the Ayurveda believes that the Nadi or the Ayurveda Pariksha, which I explained, is able to find out the root cause. It's able to find out if there is some issue. We can find out in the initial days itself when it is getting aggravated or when it is showing the pre-symptoms way. So if we really, on a daily basis or a weekly basis, if we keep monitoring ourselves from allopathic as well as Ayurvedic point of view, I think it will help us to find out the early symptoms, and it will help us to go back to a healthy stage faster. And most importantly, it will save the cost of the detection as well as the curative approaches. So just to end, yoga has been great. It has been greatly accepted by the world. So many papers are coming up to prove the efficacy of yoga on human health. The next is going to be for Ayurveda. The timing is perfect. We need to make sure that the ancient knowledge, the knowledge base which we have, we convert into different types of technologies, whether softwares or hardwares, and we make sure that we present that to the world in the most accessible, affordable way so that it reaches to the market. And it solves the problem for the root. For example, based on the main point of Ayurveda, that whatever is growing inside the body should be known from inside and should be treated again from the inside. So if we can follow this, I think it helps in the preventive measures most importantly. Well, to end, wellness industry is growing. It's a few trillions right now. It's going to be multi trillion very soon. And India has a great scope in the export, whether it's fitness, whether it's wellness, whether it's a real estate wellness, whether it's spas, alternative medicines, complementary medicines, weight loss, and so on. So we need to make sure that our knowledge, our local knowledge, our Indian knowledge, our Ayurvedic knowledge becomes in such a manner that we export it and we make sure that India makes the money. With that, I would like to thank you again, Vidyan Bharati, for giving me this opportunity to present my work to the audience. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Which initially I thought would only focus on the device, but you have taken us through all the aspects of Ayurveda and highlighted how Ayurveda can benefit us in our daily lives also, including that Surya Namaskar experiment and also. It's really a
Thank you so
wonderful
much.
talk. We have got a couple of
Okay.
questions which I'd like you to
Yeah.
answer. Uh, One is the question is, can we integrate along with pulse diagnosis? This is by Nefeli Bata G. Can we integrate ECG along with pulse diagnostics?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we are also developing another version of this, which goes more like in a smartwatch format, and they already have Fitbit iWatch, which has ECG sensor in different format on the wrist, and so we can always combine this sensor along with that sensor for getting more information. So ECG typically talks about how your heart is functioning and how the mind is controlling your heart and why is it behaving differently. And we go slightly beyond heart and how different organ systems are behaving at this moment. That information is captured in the pulse. So along with heart plus other organ systems, yes, absolutely, these two have to be combined and they will be combined very soon in near future.
Thank you. More question comes from Madhusudan. He wants to know that where we can get a list of clinics which are equipped with Nadi Tarangani devices. Is there on the
Right.
available website or somewhere?
Yes. So if you go to our website naditarangani.com, on that there is a tab where you can find out all the locations where our devices are located. I don't know whether those locations are functional at very this moment because of Corona. Because most doctors are preferring, working from home from remote. But you can always, so we have given all the information about those clinics, the contact information and so on. You can always check out that information, talk to that particular doctor and visit and get your Nadi Pariksha done.
Yeah. One more question which I wanted to ask as a researcher point of view, that when you started this first and as your PhD topic, so how difficult was it to correlate or verify that what you are doing is right or what the results are getting is right? How did you do that?
Right, sir. Absolutely, absolutely. Because so I'll start from when I started my PhD in 2004, 2004 to 5 to 6, I actually worked in the field of ECG analysis, which was very well established. To just understand how time series analysis works, how wavelets works, how Fourier transform work, and so on. So once I knew that I know the analysis part, we actually started working on the pulse. So we took about 3 years to establish the sensor. I mean, we started with the mic, then we went to light energy sensor, different types of pressure sensors, and so on. So every time I used to come up with some sensing methodology, what I used to do was I used to present that to Vaidyaraj Bhatt, who diagnosed my dad, and
Okay.
we used to work on various patients whether the data is coming correctly or not. And in 2008 or 9, what happened was that my so I was confident that this system will work. So I took the waveforms at IIT, and I took the printout, and I went to him in Pune, and I showed him the waveforms. Just by looking at the waveforms, he said that this waveform, this pulse, has been captured from a female user. That female must be of age around 30, 25 to 30.
I
That
got it.
user, that person is having chest pain because of acidity, and so should be. And what has happened was, I had taken the pulse of my friend who actually was suffering to acidity and chest pain, and she was, of course, my female friend. So at that time, it was, we were confident that this sensor is right. Vaidyaraj is able to see what he feels, and now the actual work starts, that what he feels, whether we can find mathematical models to actually convert that feeling information to understanding information to actually the report information. So that is how, sir, our journey went from trying out various sensors to fixing one type of sensor that it is giving the correct signals.
Right. Now the other question is from the your business point of view. When you went to Vaidyas with your device, how was their reaction?
Oh, it was wonderful. I mean, when we launched in 2017, um, we actually launched in World Ayurveda Congress. It was so well received. Many doctors booked there itself. We went very slow across all 2 3 years because we knew that this is the first device and we should not make mistakes along our path. So we went with only those Vaidyas who actually know Nadi, who are Vaidyas and who know Nadi. I mean,
Right.
those doctors should not diagnose the patients just based on the report cards. That was our. I mean, we used to tell our doctors that this should be. I mean, in the initial years, in the first 2 years, and then as more and more data came, we were confident about report cards, and then we started with our progress. So our first initial customer base, let me call them as customers, the doctors, were more research point of view. The doctors who understand that technology works in certain way, and also there were few doctors who are completely business minded, so they exactly knew how this machine will be useful in their own business. And then later on, the third year we started approaching a few colleges and few research doctors, and after that, after their acceptance, it actually mattered a lot. So by now we have sold more than 500 systems across India, and we are collecting. So before lockdown, we were collecting more than 200, sometimes 200, sometimes 500, sometimes 1,000 patients' data per day on our servers. So that's how it was getting used every day at various locations.
One more question is Pratima Gupta. He says that how can we promote this in government hospitals or rural hospitals? Perhaps he wants to say that how do you reach them? How do you plan to?
Yes, excellent. So, ma'am, in 2018, the Ministry of Ayush awarded us with the IT Excellence Award in Ayush. And after that, many government Ayurvedic colleges actually purchased Nadi Tarangani for their research purposes. For example, it's in AIMS, it's in NIA, it's at S. Vyasa in Bangalore, it's in at Pune, various colleges. Two machines are at Guwahati Ayurvedic College, and so on. So people have, so so almost 18 papers have come in last I mean not last 6 months, but before that, in 12 months 18 papers came because of these research doctors and colleges. So they collected data at their colleges, at their associated hospitals, and they did Nadi experiments, various pre and post experiments, and based on that, they have published various papers at local conferences, international conferences, various journals, and so on. So it has been very pleasant that this device has been used uh, towards making sure that the Ayurveda Pariksha has been established. It's there in Ayurveda. It's there in colleges. All doctors follow it. But when it is given to the when the report card reaches the patients, it's actually at different level. So we have so many use cases that one person received the report card, that person got many more families, friends to the clinics to just get the Nadi Pariksha done, find out more, and so on. So it has been exceptional. To specifically answer the question of ma'am, so we are it's more like a proprietary item. So you can always so our number, our chat is there. So you can always send a message and we'll get back to them, and you can purchase from our device right away, from our website right away.
Yeah, because there was some to have your number also. So I guess it is available on your website. Am I right?
Yes, 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 absolutely.
www.naditarangani.com. Is it right?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
One more question I wanted to ask is listening to this, or even earlier also, there may be many doctors or some hospitals, reputed hospitals, who wish to conduct some such more studies using your device. So,
Yes.
how they should approach, or I mean, how should be the process?
I mean, sir, the process is same. We run a very small startup at this moment. On website, we have given different links. So once you approach us, we actually will get back to you. We are running many medical trials at various locations. So the process is set. I mean, we can always talk deeper into how to formulate the protocol, how to get consents, how to establish the devices at their locations, and go further. So either send us an email at info@athreainnovations.com, or on the website itself, you can drop us a message in the chat section and we will get back to you. So currently,
Right.
right. Oh my God, Anil Sasrabuddhe sir has written something. So nice to read this. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, sir.
I had sent to him also because he is the
Yes,
person looking after
yes.
the technical education in the country. And I think that through this device or such research should reach all across the technical institutes, so
Thank
that
you so much, sir.
engineers like you, more engineers should collaborate and work on Ayurveda. So that is the message I think Sir is trying to give here.
Yes. I mean, I'm speechless at this very moment.
And one more is a question that comes to mind is typically, is there any research going on right now in, let's say, coma patients or corona patients or some such cases you are doing it or plan to
Uh,
do?
so, sir, actually, we wanted to do it. We approached one COVID center in Pune, but the kind of stress they already have there, and the kind of commercials we as a company going through right now, it was not viable for us to conduct the tests on the corona patients, even though we want so hard that we want to conduct such and if through this lecture, if some opportunity comes, we would love to do it. There is no doubt about it. But the kind of precautions we have to take, because after all, the Nadi machine has to touch the patient on the
Yeah.
wrist. So the kind of precautions we need to take. So we could not solve that particular small problem of how to handle it and so on. So we have not started it, but we wish to do it. So if some scientist or some medical college approaches us, we would be happy to do it. I mean, we'll keep aside all the commercials and we'll be happy to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think most of the questions are taken, and there can be many more, but our time is getting up. And whatever are the further questions, I would like to go to the website and send an email to you, which I think you will
Absolutely.
be gladly uh, ready to answer. So
Absolutely, sir. Happy to do it.
www.naditarangani.com. That is
Yes.
right, where you can
Yes,
go
sir.
and ask the questions.
Yes, sir.
So
Absolutely.
I would again thank you very much for this wonderful, wonderful talk. I mean, it was
Thank you
beyond
so much, sir.
that I thought that is just a device and we are going to talk about it, but it is a holistic approach that you have taken while designing this device and further on. So that I'm sure that will take Ayurveda further to the world, not only through India, but to the world. And as you said, the market is huge, and beyond that market, basically, health for all. That is the mission of India always. So we are definitely going to do this through you and such other startups, which will be encouraged in further by Ayush and other government agencies. So thank you, Aniruddha, Dr. Aniruddha, once again for this one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you so much.